It's Moana. Moana. Wait, what does she say though when she does that?
It's like Polynesian.
Oh.
I don't speak Polynesian.
You know?
No. Maybe I did in a past life, but not this life. Though I feel like most of my past lives definitely just were either here in the States on the Northeast coast or in England or, you know, that part of the world. I don't think I channel a lot of other parts of the world in my past lives.
I think I do. Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely feel some strong Moana vibes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
howdy ho.
Howdy ho.
Rachel.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I've been dealing with some raging seasonal allergies this morning.
Yes.
So I woke up at 4 and, just been cruising through my morning on antihistamines.
Though she did come down and I immediately put on the diffuser.
Oh, the diffuser's so lovely. She also made me a turmeric ginger shot.
Yeah.
That I might actually be growing chest hair right now as we speak. It's so
it was
strong.
Pretty intense.
Like, oh my God.
It's one of those things where I had to put on beef short ribs in the crock pot. And
I thought you were going to say you had to put on beef shorts. I'm like, the fuck are beef shorts?
Beef shorts. Wearing the Lady Gaga beef dress. And I went to grab the carrots and I was like, oh my God. Ginger's one of those things that I forget that I buy. And I had 3 packs of ginger.
Aldi?
Yeah. Which no one needs 3 packs of ginger. And I had a giant thing of turmeric that I buy when I go to the strip district because it's super cheap and I love turmeric. And I was like, shit, I need to use this. So I just blended it all up and put it through a cheesecloth. And my thought was I actually have ice cube trays and I'm probably just going to freeze them.
Yeah, that's smart.
And then just pop, because I'm not going to be able to go through that because it needs to be diluted. It's, as Kristen said, it's a little strong.
I just took a sip intense. Of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice sipper today.
So if you're listening and if you're struggling with any kind of allergies,
they're listening.
If you have your ears turned on,
I don't know. Are you intuitively
listening?
Have you tuned into this? Or are you
listening to our podcast right now? Obviously. Okay. Diffuser blend that is so good for allergies is LLP, lemon, lavender, and peppermint. 3 staples. You can't go wrong. It's like Allegra in a bottle or Allegra in a diffuser.
It's so great.
So good. And it smells good. Sometimes there's certain blends that just, I don't know.
You were still outside and I came in to set up and I just sat here and the breeze was coming through and the LLP was a diffusing.
Mm-hmm.
I just had myself a quick little 2-minute meditation and it was perfect.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So Kristen.
Yes, Rachel.
Welcome.
Welcome to Two Mystic Mamas.
And on today's episode, we're going to take a step back. It's actually a 2-part episode. We're going to take a step back as we take a step forward. And we want you guys to interact with us during this episode, if you can. Naturally, you can come back and re-listen to it whenever you want. But we are going to be talking about what we were doing 6 months ago in regards to this podcast and where we see ourselves going in 6 months and some of the exercises that we think are really, really helpful and that we want to communicate out to you guys that you can also do if you are at a position where you are ready to make some changes, manifest some shit, and step into a new version of yourself.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to reset your life in 6 months, we're your girls.
Yeah. And we're using 6 months because that's where we're at as far as the timeline for this. But naturally, whatever that timeline looks like for you, this is a really good exercise.
Right. Because there's so many memes and reels and all of these things that are like, be unrecognizable in 6 months and reset your life in 6 months. And all of those things are possible. A lot of them also require you to move to an uninhabited island and
Yeah.
only eat coconuts. And, that just isn't reality for most of us. But you can reset your life in a way that it is the perfect fit for you by making small, actionable steps every day. So I was going back through my notes, and there were some definite common themes from 6 months ago in all of my notes. And a lot of it was kind of outlining what certain things meant to me. I had written this and I just thought it was so cool. This was, I don't know, back in January. And it was like, you live on a floating rock that surrounds a ball of fire. Shit is magical. Whatever is bothering you right now doesn't deserve the time or energy it's taking up in your life, brain, or heart. Envision the firepower of the sun burning it up. That's freedom, right? And so a lot of what I was writing about was that, and also what does abundance mean to me, and really writing and journaling that. But all of my notes had to do with the podcast, my health, my garden. I'm very excited to garden. My creative energy, and like habits that I wanted to build off of, right? There was a lot of that for me. And just like, how do I manifest things intentionally? Hey, I need to manifest X amount of dollars to pay for X amount of bills. Okay, well, I'm going to do that. How do I get there? But here's the thing. In all of those plans or action steps or intentions that I have journaled, the common thread or the theme still remains that my priorities are my health, my mental and spiritual wellness, growing this podcast, my family, obviously, and how I am providing for them. It's a really beautiful exercise. I don't have my notes with me though. I think we've talked about this previously, where I will actually every 6 months create a story, right? That's 6 months in the future. And we know I like to write.
Yes.
So 6 months from today, the date is whatever the date is, right?
Yep.
The weather is this, the sun is shining. This is how I feel. This is what I've been doing. This is where I'm at with the podcast, with my life. This is how my health is. This is what Evie's doing. And I get very, very intricate about the details of all of that.
Which really helps when you go back to reflect on where you were. And like where, you know what I mean? Like when you go back and you're like, holy shit.
Well, it also helps you reflect on things that maybe didn't actually align like you thought you wanted them.
Totally.
And then I'll go back 6 months or a year or 2 years later and I'll read something and I'll be like, man, I didn't actually want that thing, but it took me to a place where I realized something that I did really want.
Yep. So I took a note out of Kristen's book, and I do not take as many notes as she does. I just went back to our text messages.
Oh.
To see where it really all started.
I love this.
So this is September 25th.
Right.
So we meet for Thursday. We meet that Thursday. So we meet on the 28th of September.
I remember this because it was you, me, and Jeffrey. And
it was.
Charlie was wildly jealous. He was
always.
Working
always,
and not able to attend.
Always jealous. Not jealous. That's the wrong word.
Fucking FOMO.
It is. Yeah. So that's what started it. So that was at the end of September. Then I had my Reiki session, my spiritual awakening Reiki session, October 4th, which will always be ingrained in my brain. That date is just, but I'm glad we're going back to do this because I knew it was like right around that time. And at this session at First Watch, I was still like dragging my feet, but Kristen whipped out that handy dandy motherfucking planner. And she was like, no, we are putting dates down to get together to get this shit started.
I did. And we put 2 dates down.
Yeah. One was for headshots.
Right.
Because I knew I knew that I was going to be leaving my job. I just didn't know when, but I knew that I had to heed the signs that were being given from the universe. And I had to do it soon because the signs were getting way more intense, way more up in my face. And I was like, fuck. Okay. And so this is such a good, I love that we're doing this on the podcast too, because we can always go back and reference this. So 9/28 was the date. That was the day that the podcast seed was firmly planted in the ground. That was the day we planted the seed. Then you sent me a screenshot of, you said, I just lit a candle and asked my spirit guides for help knowing what part of my shadow self to work on. And this was the card I drew. So this is ritual, guys. So when you do a reading for yourself, and naturally you can go get readings, and that is always an option, but you can do readings for yourself too. And I just want to encourage you, empower you to do that exercise, because we're all intuitive beings. We all have gifts. This isn't something that like Kristen and I are special and we're just like more gifted than other people. It's just simply not true. We just are working on our gifts, and we're, spending energy, putting time into that. And the reading said, when the ascendant appears in a reading, it is telling you to be your most authentic self. You have so much to offer the world, and you shouldn't be ashamed of who you are. Don't wait until your time here is almost over before you start actually living. Throughout life, we all encounter people who don't like us, and it isn't worth giving them a second thought. Put your energy into your own personal development, and the right people for where you are in your journey will find you.
And that is so powerful, important, because it's also a message that I continue to receive from my guides, which is, do not be afraid to put yourself out there.
Yes.
There is a part of podcasting that can be terrifying because you are putting yourself out there. And for me, even though I've been on this journey for quite some time, this is the first time I'm really sharing.
Totally.
All of this
from a very vulnerable place.
Right.
Yeah.
But I keep continuing to receive that message, is that, first of all, not everybody's going to like you, right? I'm not everybody's fucking cup of tea, and I know that.
Same.
Right. And I like myself for who I am, right? The world tries to tell me otherwise because I don't fit in the box of normalcy, if you will, right?
Boxes are way overrated anyways.
Right. Unless they're vaginas.
Yeah. Well, I guess that would be a man's take on it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Not overrated to those that like vaginas.
Well,
you're welcome. Had to bring it
I mean, now I'm like, I don't even know how to pivot out of this. Are we going to go into a sex talk now?
No. We're just going to, hey, listen, we're going to acknowledge the divine feminine and vaginas for how fucking powerful and amazing that they are.
They really
fucking
really are.
I would also like to bring to light that when we had this first initial conversation on September 28th, and we had this meeting of the minds, it was a waxing gibbous moon that was one day before the full harvest moon.
Bam!
Bam, huge.
Bam,
right. And that is really, the harvest moon is all about the cycle of life and the importance of change, right? It's a really a good luck moon for those who embrace the energy and use it to set intentions.
Okay, so
but also release.
Okay, so let's just talk about this for a second. So, listeners, pay attention to when this episode is coming out, where the moon is, and what we're talking about when it comes to energy. When you have earthly energy that is willingly being given, right? This is for everybody to absorb. This isn't just, you get a little bit of moon energy and you get a little bit of moon energy, but you over there, Dolores, you don't get any. That's not how it works, right? So set your intentions around a new moon.
And this is something I had written in my notes 6 months ago. And I want you to take this to heart. Do not sabotage your ability to create because you only focus on what you lack.
Yeah. And it's easy to focus on the lack. And then we did my headshots, which were so good.
Oh man, I love your headshots so much. I was on your website the other day and I was like, oh dang, those look good.
Yeah. I just ordered my mic. This is happening October 11th. Then we came to find out those were the wrong mics.
If you listen to our first couple episodes, you will know that as well.
Yes. Oh, goodness. October 18th. My mic will finally be here today. Got delayed for some reason.
Oh, is that your mic?
And then you said, yes, have you played with it at all? It's not a dildo.
It's not a vulva.
You can't drive it. Oh my God. And then I started getting, do you remember me sending you the screenshot of when I started getting messages from my angels and spirit guides?
Yes, I do. Because at the same time that you were getting all these messages, another really close friend of mine who I just had dinner with last night is in town.
Oh, yeah.
Was also getting crazy messages from her spirit guides.
Yeah. So spirit loves to mess with us electronically. So flicking, the lights flickering, TVs turning on and off, radios coming on. If you are a big sit in front of your computer for work kind of person, they will send you messages throughout, different ways. And this one I was right in the middle of typing an email and I look up and highlighted, and I definitely did not type this, was, we're lucky to have you. And it had inserted itself right into this crazy sentence, which was about pink or blue Murano glass lamps. So, I mean, come on now. Oh, I forgot about that. That's so wonderful.
If I'm planning to write something on a post on Facebook or something like that, I like to put a lot of intention behind it. So oftentimes I will write a note and I do this with our episode descriptions and stuff too, where I write notes for things and I go back and edit and whatever before I decide on what it is I want. And I was a part of this really beautiful documentary and music project on grief.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sharing that EP for the first time on September 29th with the full moon. And so I had a note in there and I started the note with this quote by Fred Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
I know.
Love Mr. Rogers. Okay, go.
Often when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else. And that is so true on so many levels.
Yep.
And we were definitely in a place where I don't even think either of us realized it at the moment that, something was decaying in both of our lives.
Yes.
And as, we were moving into this podcast and moving into everything, the universe was working to clear the path for us.
Yep.
To be able to do this.
Yep. Always. And I think too, when we know things are coming to an end, it is hard to accept. There's a lot of resistance that immediately comes up because change can just bring up a lot of unknowns. And when you're definitely working in the spiritual side of things, you have an innate ability to trust the universe, to trust that energy. But again, that takes practice, because when you start doing it and you start seeing the results, then it's easier to trust. But when you first start doing things, especially with what I decided to do, which was to resign from a company where I was getting a steady paycheck, and I knew that I needed to take that energy back. I couldn't continue. In the universe, and my spirit guides and the angels also knew that, because they were sending me signs, very strong signs. But I was resistant to that for almost a full year. I knew. I remember, probably if I wrote it down somewhere, it would be helpful. But I remember feeling the energy shift. And I remember mentioning it to some people that I worked with, and not intentionally gaslighting me, but they were like, no, nothing has changed. Everything is still the same. And I was like, the fuck it is. It definitely is not. Shit has definitely started to shift. And
well, I mean, the shift was perceivable by you because you were in a place of shifting. But if someone else
was meant for me.
Exactly. If somebody is not in that place and they're not going to see that.
That's what I mean. Like it wasn't intentional, but they weren't like hearing what I was saying, right? Like when energy starts to move for you individually, sometimes it's not a collective energy move. You know, now there are times that are collectives, there are collective energy things, but not all the time. So, all right. So some of the things that we started when we started to make the shift for the podcast was we just set up a schedule to be really intentional about getting together. Some of the applications that we use to get ourselves organized, we use Trello, we use Canva. We really try to get as much as we can out of our heads and onto paper.
Google Calendar.
Yeah. We've spun up an email. We just did a lot of administrative tasks that need to be kind of laid out. And now that we've been doing it for 6 months, we're at this place where the next set of tasks that we need to start working on have presented themselves.
Yeah, it's time to level up again.
Yep. Yeah. It's time to get more serious about the fact that this is an established business. This is an established idea. We want to monetize things. We want things to start flowing in from that. You know, we're bringing on guests in the next 3 months. We
have our first guest
slated.
5-6 weeks.
Yep. So it's just really cool to see where we've come from, which was just an idea, but we took incremental steps. You know, we set aside time to get together every single week. Some weeks we were successful and some weeks we had to pivot. You know, we have kids, we have commitments that still come up. And so just being flexible and, you know, working around those, but being organized. As women, we are very organized in general. Sometimes it's a little scattered because we write it down somewhere, but not everywhere. And then it's, what topic are we talking? You know, that kind of thing, but nothing cray cray.
Well, we're both juggling a lot.
We are.
In addition to the podcast.
My dad always says, and this is applicable to you too. You have a 5-pound bag and you are putting 20 pounds of shit in it every single day. Yes, I am.
Thank you, Dad.
That's how I function though.
Right.
You know, that's what
Charlie and I were talking about this. So, you know, he was diagnosed with ADHD as a kid, which I think is probably a topic that resonates with a lot of our listeners as well.
Especially women, that it was way too hard for them to diagnose it in girls.
Right.
But I fully think that I had a version of that for sure.
Right. Well, you know, what we realized is that he actually is more productive and thrives the more pounds he's putting in that bag is when he takes something off of his plate. He actually struggles to maintain.
Well, I think he has
really interesting,
like routine though.
Well, routine, structure and routine are obviously paramount to that. But when you have things that you're passionate about that you're not willing to give up, you will find a way to make it work. And that's the same for you guys. If you're out there and you're a mom or you're not a mom and you want to start a business or you want to do something different with your life, you are capable of doing it.
Yep.
You will make the time for what is truly meant for you. You will find a way. And if you don't find a way, but your intention and your heart is there, the universe is going to find a way to fucking bring it to you. And that may come in the form of a very hard lesson.
Yes.
Or the ending of something that you're just not quite ready to end.
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing, I think that the other rituals that have made this transition in this new adventure so calm and peaceful for me is starting the day and ending the day with gratitude. I think that's such an easy task to do. And I don't write typically because I am still in the subconscious, coming out of subconscious into conscious when I'm waking up. And so I just do it in my head. It's the first thing I do. You know, I do a quick invocation on my team of spirit, my light team, and I just run through all of the things that I'm super grateful for. And then I do the same thing at night. So that's an easy task that when you start having gratitude, even if you've had a complete shit day, right? Like everything went wrong or something really scary or bad or sad happened, you can still find gratitude. You can still find gratitude in your existence.
And even if your routine is not what it usually is, like this past weekend, we were camping and a lot of my morning routine kind of went away, but there were still moments that I was like, okay, I can hold on to certain things. And I'm just like sitting in a camp chair next to a friend who he's been like a really good friend of mine since high school. And he looked at me and we're like, just sitting there like eating our food or whatever. And he's, what are you grateful for today? And I was like, this is so great because I know their family also practices this, gratitude and discussion at dinner. And it was nice to be in a different environment and be supported and be able to still be who I was and have conversations around gratitude. Yeah. Even though, you're maybe hanging out with friends and, drinking or whatever.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah, it was great. You don't have to fit all of this in a box where life doesn't happen around you.
No. And I think this is a great place to just, if you have children of any age, start asking them that question. And it can be material things naturally. I'm every morning and every night, I am grateful for my home. I am grateful for the space
absolutely
that provides security and warmth and all of the things, protection for my family. I will never take that for granted, ever. Oh, hello, human. Un momento. Total loss of train of thought there.
It's okay. The last time that we podcasted and we had an interruption via B, that Rachel left me some sort of love note, but I have yet to edit that episode, so I don't actually know what she did. I don't know if she sang, I don't know if she said something, but I'm going to take this moment and I'm going to cast us 6 months in the future from now, right? We are at the end of this beautiful year of 2024, which is like such a year of growth and illumination, really, of the things that we don't want in our life, even more so than what we know we do want. And I just want you to take a moment with me. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine yourself surrounded in this beautiful white shimmering light. And this white light comes into your body and through every limb, through your heart, all the way down to your feet, grounding yourself to the earth, and rooting yourself, but also connecting you to universal energy that is out there waiting for you. And I want you to imagine in 6 months, what is one way that you want your life to be at the very best? And I'm going to take this a step further, and I'm going to wish for you abundance. I'm going to wish for you blessings. I'm going to wish for your dream to take a step forward in the direction of your highest good. So just imagine that white light and imagine taking a step into your best self. Maybe take a moment when you're done with this and just write down what that step looks like. And for Rachel, I'm just going to surround her she shed in white light with gold threads that connect everything, help heal our broken parts in such a way that's beautiful and artistic. And I'm going to hold her and her beautiful family and her beautiful home in my sphere of white shimmering light. And I'm going to bestow upon them so many blessings as we move through this next chapter of our life, which really, as the planets are moving around, is really this like 20-year phase and cycle that we're moving into. And I'm just going to bless them. So I want you to connect with your spirit guides and connect within yourself and have that moment for yourself and for somebody else around you. We don't always have to be manifesting for ourselves, right? We can manifest for our community, someone we love, our co-host, And then I want you to slowly open your eyes if you've closed them. Maybe make some notes, journal in a notebook, or your trusty notes on your phone. Take your time. Don't rush into anything. But if you feel the need, just dive in head first, right? This is all about feeling. An intention that I would use is I am the architect of my life. I build its foundation and choose its contents. I send you guys off this little meditative moment and blessing with love and light. Welcome back, Rachel.
Thank you for welcoming me back.
You're welcome.
Had a little hiccup there with Isla Beaner.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
What is one thing or one place or what is something that you would like to see happen 6 months from now, or a way that you'd like to feel 6 months from now?
The way I'd like to feel 6 months from now is the way I feel now, but amplified. The last 6 months for me have brought me so much peace, and it's not without struggle,
right? But
I saw this quote the other day where it was like, well-being is not, I'm going to probably butcher it, but to the point where it's like, well-being is not being financially stable and stressed out all the time. Well-being is finding a balance of what that looks like and how that presents itself. And I was listening to a podcast too with Jay Shetty, and he had Laura Lynn Jackson on, who's an incredible psychic medium. And she's super gifted, well known. She's written a couple books. She goes on talk shows and what have you. And they were talking about, in this one section of the podcast, about how important peace is. And when you have peace, how that has an effect on every area of your life.
Right.
And so for me, I would like to feel the same sense of peace and calm, but amplified even more. And some of the other goals that I already touched on, but the monetization of the podcast, I'd like to be bringing in revenue in different ways and different forms. But I really have and feel a strong calling to this work, and giving and putting out my unique voice and vibration for others to absorb, and with the goal of helping others to transform their lives with themselves. We are incredibly gifted beings, and we have so much to offer ourselves, but the world. And we can do that from within, right? So we can do that from within. So like giving people the tools or the tricks or the habits or the encouragement or the suggestions, whatever you want to call it, to do that in their lives. And I don't think I ever want to stop doing that.
I agree 100%. I realized that like in my photography business, I realized that was something that was important to me when I got into it, because really it started as a side hustle to make extra money, because I decided I wanted to go back to school. I was pregnant with Evie at the time, and I wanted to go back to school for sports nutrition. I don't know if we've ever talked about this or not. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna start this side hustle. It was like a hobby for a long time, and I'm gonna make extra money to pay for me to get through school. I went for a few semesters, and then I had Evie, and within a year I had gone full time with my business. I didn't even see it coming, but it morphed and transformed so much in those first 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. Like I thought, and I see that happening with our podcast too, right? Mm-hmm. Like I thought I wanted it to be one way, and then it completely transformed into something else. But the baseline for all of it was that I ended up helping women specifically feel empowered and beautiful and good in their skin. Mm-hmm. And so it has always been like my calling, I feel like, to help others realize what they have inside of them and love themselves for it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing more fulfilling than having someone like genuinely you see a shift in their demeanor, in their confidence, where you help them to heal.
Right.
We're so capable of healing ourselves. And yes, having a community and, seeking out professional help is all of those are steps to help us, but you have to still take that step. No one's going to just help you without you taking a step saying, hey, I'm interested, I need help, or whatever that looks like. It can, that can play out in a lot of different ways. We all survive in this human existence that we have. And in order to do that and thrive, we do need cash flow. So
right.
Monetization is important. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's not, but
but it's not important if the rest of it doesn't work for us.
Totally. Right. Exactly. Like, it will never be about the money. The money is just an exchange that we will receive from the universe, because there's ever flowing abundance of that. There's not there's only so much out there to get. No, there's not. What is, and I'm not going to say the only, because it always trickles into more than just the one, but I wrote down a couple of things that to reflect on or outline question wise when you're at this point where you're thinking about where you were 6 months ago and where you're going to be 6 months from now, or where you were a year ago and where you're going to be a year from now, whatever that timeline looks like for you. But I'm going to ask this question first, and then I have a follow-up question. Where do you think we have failed forward thus far in our journey?
I think that we failed forward in the tech side of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We tried to bite off more than we could chew.
Yes.
In the beginning.
Yes.
And we have had to learn a lot of lessons by trial and error. I personally have let go of I have a tendency to, what's the word? It's escaping me at the moment.
Perfection?
Yeah, the perfectionism, but I have a tendency to micromanage myself in a way that I think that the only way forward is to micromanage myself, because if I don't, then it's not going to get done. And this is a deep trauma wound for me. And a lot of my life lessons in this experience that I'm having in this human body right now are about trusting in myself to trust other people. So I have been relinquishing a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I just stopped myself and I'm like, nope, I'm trusting all of this and letting all of that go. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's been a really beautiful exercise for me. In as much as I have always trusted and loved you as a friend, this is another step deeper.
Yeah.
In letting go of some of the
Yeah. Do you think it's also a witch wound?
Probably. Yeah.
Intensified with this human experience.
I feel like right now, even talking about it, it's so amplified in me right now.
Yeah.
I'm on the verge of tears.
Yeah. Oh,
but it's a really,
but I just
hard part of myself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But a beautiful, vulnerable part too.
Right.
Because I don't think that you're alone in that.
Right.
I think a lot of us struggle with that.
Yeah.
It's a survival thing.
100%. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is,
there's tissues right there.
I know.
Well, I say right there.
So close yet so far.
I was going to say, if it's empty, I'm going to be real upset.
Oh God, that would be so funny.
It's just a box, no tissues.
And I really think this wound is, yes, I know a lot of it's from this lifetime, but I think it's from way before this lifetime.
Sure.
And I don't know if you have gotten into Abraham Hicks or Eckhart Tolle at all, but two incredible humans with a lot of perspective.
That she put. I'm going to pull it up.
So Abraham Hicks say that, and they use that terminology because Abraham Hicks is a woman who embodies
Abraham,
right? So
from the Bible, the Old Testament.
Right. But she is of the belief that we actually choose our parents as a soul.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a great relationship with your parents, that can be something really hard to swallow, in terms of, man, I chose this for my soul's experience because there were lessons that I needed to learn or traumas that I needed to let go of and release.
Yep.
So I feel like I chose the path that I have walked through in this life.
Yeah.
But man, that's like a whole head fuck. That's a whole mind fuck right there to have that kind of awareness.
Yes.
And to embody that. So
I feel like too, have you ever done a cord cutting?
oh yeah.
Okay.
Big cord cutter over here.
I know. You can't cut cords for other people unless you have that cord. But I feel like, speaking of the Abraham Hicks, it was actually the quote I was trying to talk about earlier. Hard work is not the path to well-being. Feeling good is the path to well-being.
Right.
You don't create through action, you create through vibration. And then your vibration calls action from you.
Right.
Which is so interesting. So like when I was saying about being where I want to feel, because I'm, a clairsentient, that's my strong clair.
Can you explain that to people that don't know what
so everyone has the clairs that they're called, and it's CLAIR. And so you can be clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, and claircognizant. And then there's a couple other clairs that are like not minor, but not as well known or utilized, which I can't remember. It's like the one where it's like you have the ability to smell without things being there and then taste. But clairvoyant means that you can see energy. So you can see people's auras, or you can see spirit. You can see things that are on a higher vibrational level. And then clairaudient is you hear spirit. Claircognizant is like you just have thoughts that come into your third eye or your brain where you just know them to be true. You don't know how you know them, but and then clairsentient is you feel. So I feel energy. Right. So like I can feel spirit. I can just feel, like I can walk into a space and I can know right off the bat if it's what kind of like at what level it's vibrating. Not necessarily, I haven't trained it too much, but that's like my strongest clair. Peace is a higher frequency feeling. It's a higher frequency. And so like when we're depressed or sad or angry or anxious or fearful, those are all lower vibrational feelings. And again, I'm all about having all of the feelings on the spectrum, right? It is a spectrum, and it has, but your goal is to try to stay in like a higher vibrational frequency, because you will operate more clearly, and spirit is more likely to be able to send you clearer signs about next steps if you're operating at a higher frequency.
When you talk about peace, that's something that I have said as I've been kind of moving, I would say, more rapidly through my healing journey in the last 5 years than I was. It's definitely gone through cycles. I feel like in my life,
you've just been more intentional, which maybe has sped it up.
Right.
Like you've been focusing on working through it.
Yeah. And I had very intentional years in my teen years as well.
Yeah.
So I've definitely had cycles where I was more intentional than others. I don't allow things to take up space in my life anymore if they disturb my peace.
Yes.
And that is, to your point,
people, places, and things.
Yes. Yeah, very totally. Intentional.
Yep.
And I operate within 3 of my clairs pretty much all of the time. And they kind of come and go because I can see, feel, and know, which is a lot sometimes.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like a muscle. The more you work them, the more you're attuned.
Right.
The more they're going to be clearer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a wild ride.
It is, but I'm so grateful to be on it, and there's no going back. I'm sure you can put the pause on it, but I don't even know. At this point in my life, there's no fucking pause for me.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I definitely pushed pause on mine, but it was not because I wanted to push pause. It was because I allowed myself to lose who I was to someone else, some other people, and I did not take the driver's seat of my life for quite some time.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good exercise too, listeners, while you're doing this exercise of writing down all the things like where you were 6 months ago, where you want to be. really get detailed about the people, the places, and the things that have also been a part of that. Because when you start being intentional, to Kristen's point about if it disrupts your peace, if it disrupts your happiness, if you know that there is a trend, you can start cord cutting. You can start doing actionable things unbeknownst to those people, places, and things.
Right.
That will start to make that change.
And you won't feel instant relief.
No.
But sometimes you will.
Sometimes you can.
A lot of these wounds, if there's something you consistently come back to that you're like, I know this is holding me back.
Yes.
Right. I know this is causing me pain or disturbing my peace. And you're trying to cut the cord with that feeling, person, place, thing, whatever it might be, or habit even, right?
Yep.
Then you know that that's going to be a really strong cord that's going to take a lot of time to cut.
Yeah. Energetic cords, the longer they've been in existence, the longer they're going to take to sever.
Yep.
It's kind of like an onion. There's just a lot of layers. And
I thought you were going to say a vulva. Come on, wrap it back in.
Yeah, with my beef shorts. So this is just a 6-month check-in. And I think, these check-ins, we will do them from time to time. And we will do them when we feel that we need to do a check-in, right? Because everyone's on a different journey. Everyone has different goals and different things that they want to accomplish on different timelines. And so, but what's applicable is the exercises that we're writing, that we're documenting or talking about here is, get intentional with doing some journaling, whether you're writing it physically down. Like I'm a physical writer. I like to physically write, whether you're typing it on a computer, whether you're doing the notes on your phone, which Kristen is a big supporter of and does such a good job at. Whatever that looks like, take the time and the space to do that for yourself. And when you take that time, really be intentional about it. Make sure that you're not going to get interrupted. Make sure that you light a candle for that intentional time that you're putting in there.
If you're going to do one thing, stay consistent in moving towards what you're trying to create. We hope you've enjoyed the last 6 months with us because we sure as fuck have enjoyed it with you.
Yes. Yeah.
And we can't wait to keep going.
Where I envision us going is traveling with the podcast and
100%.
taking the podcast with us. It's what's so flexible about it.
Oh, can I share something?
Yes.
I know you're in the middle of a thought.
No, it's fine.
I thought about this earlier and I forgot to say it.
Yes.
For many years now, I would say probably 4 or 5 years, Charlie and I have been talking into existence the fact that we want to be able to have mobile businesses so that when Evie graduates high school, we can go and work from wherever we want to work.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And slowly, the universe is chipping away at the things that don't fit into that scheme. And I just thought about this week and I was like, man, this is this is going to be a slow progression, but you can see it happening. And not even a way that we're like, oh, we're going to do A, B, and C to get to D, right? Just that the things are falling away that are meant to fall away.
Yep.
And the things that are meant to come to bring us that like virtual nomad kind of life that we're talking about wanting to live for a little bit are coming into our sphere. And that's in terms of his job and the podcast.
Yep.
All of it.
Yeah. No, I think that it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But again, that's you guys, you said something there that I think really resonated is you speak into existence. Just that phrase alone, speak into existence, ... Speak into existence your future. Speak into existence your happiness. Speak into existence your peace. And then get intentional about what the fuck that looks like. And even if you don't know, ask for guidance. Ask for a next step. I want to speak into existence the ability for me to be more peaceful. What does my next step look like?
That's great advice.
Yeah. Man. All right. Well, we're going to continue.
I feel like we could talk about this forever.
We could totally do it.
Email us twomysticmamas@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. And it's the word two.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
Well, I've gotten asked that a couple times. Is it the number 2 or the word 2? And I'm like, it's the word.
Didn't even fucking think about that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I've gotten asked that. We're here for you. We know that you're here for us. And we really appreciate the energy that you give into receiving our words and in letting us into your space. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. We love you.
We sure do. All right. Bye.
Bye.